touched by an angel.
Now, where did the angel touch you?
On this doll, show me where the angel touched you.
Here.
Oh, come on!
Come on!
And here.
No, I didn't do that. No. It was a metaphor. It was a metaphor. That's what he said. It was a metaphor.
And he did so hard right there.
Okay, so let's see here.
You are not Groot.
I am Groot, who is voiced by Vin Diesel, my hero. Alright, so good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, and thank you for joining us once again, the Modern Stars of Gaming. I'm Kaiju Spaceworthy K, and with me here is Subliminal.
Hey, everybody!
Necro Spaceman Nick.
What up?
And the one we're all expecting to be the best tonight, Roadblock Bonds. Hello, Roadblock.
Hail, Xeon.
Ooh, you're already going down a negative hole there. And welcome back to the Modern Stars of Gaming live stream.
Skylight's real.
This is our 31st episode, so we've almost done this for a full year now. So we decided to throw something out there. This, first of all, just to give you guys the heads up, this is going to be very, very geek related and very, very spoiler heavy. So if you're one of those people who doesn't want to get spoiled by crap, this is not the video you should be watching. Tonight, we've decided to step into our own imaginations and bring out something really creepy and utterly terrifying. Yes, the imagination. And what this imagination was an idea brought forth by Roadblock Bond. Imagine, if you will, you're in the universe of the Gundam series. Gundams being these giant mechanical armored suits that are designed to basically blow up everything in sight. Now, imagine you could create one. I'll give you a second. Okay, so that's what we actually did. The four of us have actually gone through and created our own custom Gundams. Now, all these Gundams are going to vary from person to person. Necros is not going to be like mine, Subliminals is not going to be like mine, Roblox isn't going to be like mine, and you can pretty much switch those names around all you want. The main idea is that we are going to be proposing our Gundams, and hopefully you at home can choose which one you thought was the most interesting, or badass, or cheapest even. Hell, put it down in the comments below which one you think was the cheapest SOB out of the group. Which one you think was the strongest. Which one do you think you would want to pilot. And if you have any ideas for yours, put them down below. But without further ado, I guess I gotta start this can of whoop open. So, first of all, let's give you a little bit of the setting of the idea of our series. This would happen after the main storyline of the Gundam series. This would be after Destruction. This is a part where all the Gundam manufacturers were basically banned except for those used by the military. Now, the four of us, who knows? We could be military, we might not be military.
We could be rebels for all we know.
Right. So, the main idea for the storyline is there are four different groups running around. There's the space-based military, there are the Earth colonies, there are the sub-colonies, and then, of course, there are the Junkers. Each one of these groups will have their own advantages and disadvantages, and basically it just decides on where the people want to be from. Obviously, the military space police, of course, would have the high-tech stuff and more knowledgeable pilots and everything like that. Earth colonies would probably have better manufactured stuff. The other colonies might even have alien technology, and the Junkers are the guys that are just basically cleaning up space and putting things together. So that's the basic idea behind it. Now, unfortunately, we went through the everyone touch your nose game, and I lost. So this time you're up against my Gundam first. But just to throw a bit of a storyline, because I'm a gigantic geek, my character's storyline is he was originally, and still is, a member of the Junkers. He was born and raised on them, or born and raised with them, and lived all his entire life scrapping things together and gaining history logs. He was very, very adventurous, and he enjoyed the idea of the older-style mobile suits, but felt that they weren't given enough attention to detail because they weren't given enough of power. A Gundam, on the other hand, would have been able to do all kinds of things with the gears and weapons that he found. So, through a bit of luck and a bit of trial and error, he was able to put together his own Gundam. It's called the Gundam Chimera. Now, another thing to know is that he happens to be one of the survivors of an attack of an alien race. Got to give him some kind of negative background. So he kind of has a bit of a negative feeling towards non-humanoids. But that could be overcome. Now, the Gundam Chimera is a mobile suit that's designed off of the parts of older mobile suits. He's about 70% Gundanium, and the rest is a modified armor collection of bits and bobs to give him a little bit more defense, and a reflective coating to make him feel all happy and warm inside. I'm just going to go pop it over here so I know what I'm talking about. Now, amongst his many, many, many little knick-knack, paddywhacks, and give a dog a bones, are some of his more important things. Now, his Gundam is a standard-sized Gundam. I believe I'd like the color palette to be a little on the darker side, maybe dark blacks and purples, with, of course, the white sheen Gundam built parts, you know, usually on the inner arms and everything like that, just to be standard. He would specialize in multiple combat scenarios where he would be able to attack from close range, far range, you know, cover the beam, etc. Now, of course, due to the fact that he's not made of pure Gundanium, his armor is not nearly as strong as a regular Gundam's. So to make up for that, he uses planet defensors. Now, if you've ever seen Gundam Wing, these would be the things used by the Virgo series or even the Merc-Takiro series. They are a small group of discs that would float around, usually attached to the shoulder blades, and pop out to be able to deflect and block just about anything thrown at you. The problem is, they don't have their own built-in generators, and when they run out of juice, they gotta go back and suck some juice out of you. So basically, it would be used to defend myself from a lot of the incoming attacks while I'm trying to dodge around and save my ass.
Yep.
The next up is a hybrid weapon created by the G-Xiphos. The G-Xiphos was one of the Gundam series and used a powerful arm-mounted shield as his main weapon. Amongst the things this shield had were... we've been grooted.
Don't you glare at me.
Amongst the things that it had on it were that its left arm would actually not have a regular hand, but actually end in 3 very powerful claws. Amongst the other things, the shield was very thick and able to protect. It had a mounted beam gun inside the wrist, and of course, the heat rod. Now, a heat rod was usually a long snake-like weapon that was used as a whip. It was superheated to no end, so it could cut through a lot of armors real easily, but it was also electronically charged to deal damage to electronic circuitry. It could also change from a whip-like protrusion into a sword for more combat. This is the main weapon my suit will use, for a purpose of just, it has so much going for it. The beam sword, the beam gun, the shield, and of course the gripping claw for grabbing a hold of somebody and just dragging them along a ship or something. Just, gotcha! Another thing my ship contains is an item called the Diffuse Beam Cannon from the Dorado series. Basically, in the lower part of the chest, there was a small cannon embedded that fired a wide, powerful beam. The flaws with this, of course, is as a powerful beam, it drains a lot of energy, and it's not real easy to aim, seeing as the only direction it aims from is from your chest. So it's good for saying hello and hitting somebody at point-blank range, but probably something that's going to be dodged easily. Another part to the system is something called a power expander. Now, the power expander basically doubled the capacity of a generator. This being, of course, a standard Gundam generator to give me even more energy. I also carry a custom handgun. This was created by the Din Raven from another part of the Gundam series. Basically, it was a multi-purpose pistol in my main armament. It fires beam. It has a beam rifle attachment for it for rapid-fire laser fire. It also has a solid explosive slug launcher on it for firing standard rounds as well. This allows me to get around certain Gundams or other mechs' specialties. For instance, a lot of mobile suits have an anti-beam coating on them. So a beam rifle's not going to do as much damage, but an explosive slug, on the other hand, is going to wreck their day. I also have the Mirage Colloid stealth system. I believe the Din Raven also had this, and basically it's just a stealth system. It makes me really hard to detect. I can't be detected by radar, I can't be detected by vision. But thermal scopes are going to find me real easy because I got a double generator in my chest. The last of my weapon systems are the Wolfsbane long-range beam cannons from the Dialga. And what these were 2 large cannons that could fold over your shoulder and were basically high-powered beam rifles. Now, they didn't have as much power as, say, my diffuse beam cannon, but could fire much more rapidly. This gives me a good amount of close, medium, and long-range combat, as well as a couple of just fire and take out a big chunk of space weapons. That being said, we're also going to move into my other abilities as well. These would be the equipment section. Now, above the equipment section was an ability called the Flash Eye. Now, I actually can't remember which Gundam or mobile suit this came from, but basically it sits above the diffuse cannon in my chest, and basically it fires out an extremely blinding light. Basically it says, fuck you to anybody who's looking at me like a big flash bomb. This is basically used to get the hell away from people, because not exactly 100% Gundam, so I'm not going to be able to take the hits that these guys are going to be able to take.
Right.
On top of that, my multi-construction armor suit system, which was used by the Formula 91 Gundam, is basically, it's, how should I put it? Rather than having a bunch of empty space inside the suit between the circuitry, it basically compacts everything. I have it filled with a special gel that actually absorbs ballistic impact, so me getting punched or slammed against a rock or something, I'm not going to feel it as much as a standard would, but I'm also not as defensive as a standard would be. Whenever I say standard, by the way, I'm talking about Gundams. I also have an advanced sensor package, basically used to detect basically everything around me. The only thing it really cannot detect is radiation by certain Gundams who have literally black hole generators in their chest. I can't see those. I have no way of detecting them, but I have thermal scopes and everything, so I can detect everything else. That being said, I want to bring up the true advantage of my the true advantage of my Gundam, and that is the buddy system. No, I'm not talking about the military buddy system. No. This was used by the D. Adaga and many other Gundams from that series. And what it was basically, rather than have one pilot control everything that's going on in the Gundam at once, it allowed you to split it up to multiple Gundams, or multiple people. So instead of you having one pilot, you could have 2 or 3 or 4. You could have one person manning the sensors, one person manning the weaponry, etc. So what this does is actually lets me be more than one pilot controlling this Gundam. Now, because I don't want to bring anybody else into my little personal war against the military Space Foundation because of what they did to the Junkers, I kind of just use AI. That's right, I actually use artificial intelligence, and I actually have 2 of them. They're my combat supports. Those are Violet and Kyra. Now, Violet is a Gundam. There's a AI that I found from one of the mobile suits. Now, it wasn't from a Gundam, it was from a simple mobile suit. But basically what her capabilities are is she basically controls my sensors. She's the tactician of the group. She's an AI designed to read the sensors, read the battlefield, and tell me what I should or should not do because, well, as a junker, I'm not exactly a pilot.
Right.
I'm just basically a guy who threw this thing together and is hoping it works. Now, the other one, on the other hand, is Kyra. Now, Kyra, by my storyline, shouldn't exist. When I was adding the multiple pieces of metal armor together to make the construction armor, like I told you earlier, something got into the armor. This was a part of a system called the SID, which was from another Gundam series. Now, the SID was an artificial intelligence designed to protect a specific part of space and not let anybody near it. However, the SID had been destroyed, and this was basically all that was left of this particular chunk, which created Kyra, which actually embedded herself into the system. Uh-oh. Did you hear something?
Maybe something evil coming.
Okay. Basically, Kyra is the complete opposite of Violet, where Violet is a more laid-back, thought-provoking individual who just looks at all the information and says, this is what I have. Kyra is a very aggressive, violent AI system, which I basically use... Cody!
Need to get another chair.
Yeah. There's one on the other side right over there. Basically what she does is she sits inside my Striker piece from the Strike Rogue series, which I'll explain in a second. She controls a lot of the mobility of my suit. She controls a lot of the weaponry that my suit doesn't truly control. And because she's been around for so many years, I believe that she was from approximately 200 years in the past. she's just sat in space learning combat ever since. So she has that advantage on her as well. Now, we're Violet. Hello, Reaper.
Hi.
Get in here!
Welcome to the show.
Second to set up.
Now, where the Violet controls the sensor suite, she controls the Ori Striker. Now, what the Ori Striker was a system used by, once again, the Strike Rogue Gundams. What it was is it basically functions as a plane or a spaceship that can also attach directly to my back and give me maneuverability and other things. For instance, a large shite ton of weapons that basically are not controlled by me, but are controlled by Kyra. Amongst the weapon systems that she does have control of are things such as missiles, a couple missile launchers inside the wings, an actual missile launcher on the shoulder, a speed booster, a beam launcher, a railgun, and an anti-ship sword, which I use very sparingly. With these two AIs helping me, I'm actually able to go above and beyond what most Gundam pilots are, because unfairly it's 3-on-1. Seeing as most Gundams will only have one pilot in them, and my buddy system actually has 3, myself and 2 others. Above all that else, I do have one other weapon. Now, this is a weapon that I don't always bring into combat, it's a weapon that I don't always use in combat, but every Gundam has a head-mounted weapon. Usually it's a machine gun that's used for destroying missiles and incoming smaller ships and just fucking up mobile suits. Well, I chose one from a much older series. And what I have is I have what's called a photon energy cannon on both sides. Now, don't let it fool you, it actually doesn't use photons. I was actually upset to find out that the photon energy cannon does not use photons.
What the hell does it use?
It's actually a sonic weapon. And everyone knows how I feel about sonic weaponry.
You love it.
It was designed to be used in underwater scenarios and basically not space, where sound weapons are not going to do me any good. This is the only weapon that's used by Violet, who basically controls the head of my Gundam, so she needs something. All in all, my Gundam is basically used as a defensive unit. I can get in, I can use weapons such as the flash eye to blind you, I can then unload on you with everything I have, and then hope and pray that it's enough to kill you. If not, I can always use my stealth system to run the fuck away, or pop up shields and then pray that Violet or Kira come up with some kind of idea that I'm not thinking of. Against a regular standard Gundam from, say, the Gundam Wing series, I would be able to easily take down Gundams such as the Gundam Wing, the Gundam Heavy Arms, or the, what's the one that Wu Fei used? I can't remember what one Wu Fei used was.
Shenlong.
The Shenlong. Due to the fact that a lot of them require a good series of energy weapons, or require them to be right on top of me to work, which gives me a huge advantage of just getting the hell away from them, or having Kira pop off my back and us tag team them. However, Gundams like the Hell Scythe that specializes in stealth to get up behind me and just rip me a new one, or say the Wing Zero, Catra's, oh man, what was Catra's?
Sandrock.
The Sandrock, which has multiple ranged weaponry and a very intelligent pilot behind it. I would have a lot of difficulty with them. I might be able to block a few blows from the Death Scythe, but if I can't get away from it, it's going to get me eventually. And as with the Sandrock, it has close, medium, and long-range weapons, and an extremely intelligent tactical pilot behind the back who's been using the same Gundam for his entire life, where my character has been using it for a grand total of probably about 2 years, and is basically hoping that the AI units are keeping me alive this long. So that's the idea behind the Gundam Chimera. My pilot, of course, is a member of a group called the Junkers. I'll do a little bit of explanation about this one real quick before we move on to the new Gundam that's going to be popping up next. Not you, some.
Yeah, because I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah. Basically what happened was the Junkers were out in a piece of far space, cleaning up after somebody's war again, which is what the Junkers did, when a group calling themselves the Sater appeared. Now, no one knows what the Sater look like. They usually attack by creating this particle mass that creates pure darkness in space. No sensors can see it, nothing can see it. And basically they approached, and the Junkers begged the space army to come back us up. And they said that they couldn't risk all of their pilots, and they were sorry. So they kind of just left us to die. Now the Satari only thing known about the Satari is they are humanoid, except they have a tail that is very, very strong, and they are able to control it. It's prehensile. The other thing about them is they have sharp fangs. They're very intelligent. They're very, very advanced in space combat. What happened was, knowing that they were coming, my pilot jumped into the Gundam Chimera thinking I could get out of the spaceport in time to do some damage. No, they shut down the entire thing and left me trapped inside the Gundam, where one of them jumped in, sank their fangs into my neck, leaving what was called the death mark. And then when power turned back on, everybody woke up. 90% of the Junkers were dead. The remaining 10% had what was called a death mark, which everyone who's marked by the Satari will eventually be found again after 2 or 3 years, and then they disappear permanently. My character's mentality is family and friends first, fuck everybody else, and an extreme hatred towards anybody of a royal faction or a military faction, which is, of course, the complete opposite of myself, seeing as I am an infantry soldier and would probably side with the infantry first, then the civilians. This is a complete turn of phrase with me, and kind of leaves me with a character that is more known for winning... Yeah, more known for winning through tactics and sheer luck than military tactics and high-powered weaponry. That being said, that is the Gundam Chimera. This actually took me 6 minutes longer than I was hoping it would. So moving on to the one that scares me the most at this point, we're going to move to Subliminal. Subliminal, now you describe us what your horrific Gundam is.
I was thinking of names.
Okay.
But all I had was the SS... Mist, you know, like Mist and...
So, like, the Gundam Mist.
Yeah.
That's not bad. That sounds pretty cool. Especially after what your Gundam frickin' does.
It has natural camouflage, which is instant.
Basically, his Gundam uses what would be considered an optical camera. What it does is it takes pictures of the surroundings around him at all times and changes his armor to be that color.
Aren't we approaching technology like that already?
Yeah, we are. That's why I'm giving it to him. And basically, his armor bounces off anything other than thermal scans. So unless you have thermal scanning or actually see him because he's dumb enough to, like, fly in front of a light or something, he's not going to be seen. That's not what's scary about him, though. It's getting there.
It's half the size of an average Gundam.
There you go, okay?
For speed and movability.
Basically, a standard Gundam stands about 75 to 80 foot tall, give or take a few inches. There are no mobile suits that are 40 foot tall, so he's this little dinky kneecapper that you look at and go, "Oh, ain't he cute?" until, well, he kills you.
My main weapon is a katana.
Beam katana, get it right.
Beam katana, my bad. Beam katana for close range. And a sniper that instead of bullets, it shoots a virus that can assume control over said, what was it? Not Gundam, but...
Basically, if it's a system that doesn't have control to protect it from hacking, he can take it over. He can take over a starship, he can take over a mobile doll, he can take over another mobile suit. He could turn an entire army against itself and sit back in the shadows laughing his ass off as they're killing one another.
I could basically take down an armada with the amount of what would you call the bullets if
they were bolts. Just bolts of energy.
Bolts of energy?
Yeah.
I could assume control over many without draining much of my battery.
Right, because basically what happens is he fires down the rifle, the bolt hits a target, infects it, and then that target instantly is under his control.
I could set off the self-destruct in that said controlled object.
Right, so he could just blow them up if he felt like it. Now the problem with that, of course, is all Gundams are automatically protected from hacking by multiple sensor systems. So this is not an anti-Gundam weapon at first glance. However, seeing as most Gundams aren't dumb enough to be walking around by themselves, they usually have a small army of other mobile suits with them.
Right.
That being said, Gundam Wing didn't do that, but look what happened to them. So basically what he does is he just goes, that Gundam over there is going to be a fucking problem. I've got an idea. And now all your guards are blowing you up. I'm just going to wait.
I don't know if about this part is the aerodynamic is to the point where it can't come up on radar.
Right, but we already talked about that.
Alright.
Due to your size and your armor, you're basically a blank. Unless somebody can physically see you, you're invisible.
the favorite thing for it to use is other. I forgot the word. It's not Gundam. I have it written down as Gundam.
Mole suits.
Suits as puppets to do its dirty work.
So it's a dirty fighter.
Only because killing from the shadows doesn't possess a challenge. It has two main sources of power. One is nuclear power attached to a mainframe originating from an ancient alien civilization.
He's got a fucking nuke in his battery pack. He's got a nuke in his battery pack.
A nuke.
He's got a nuke running his suit. He's a 40-foot tall flying nuclear bomb with a beam saber.
I know what I'm
That
in
sounds
for.
safe.
I can't watch it all like power.
It transforms the radiation from the stars into the power.
So it's solar?
It's basically, it absorbs solar radiation from starlight and everything around it.
So solar powered.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Except remember that in space, there's not a lot blocking the solar energy from reaching him. So instead of gaining only about 10% that we do down here on Earth, he's gaining the full 100%. Of course, if you fight him on the dark side of the moon, he's fucked. So, I mean, just remember that, everybody.
The second thing...
I'm always gonna play that song.
The second one is where it can drain power from those it controls or kills with the katana.
Alright, so basically, he actually has to, unlike my suit that has the power drainer system that basically absorbs from around it, his suit actually requires contact with the actual ship or control over it.
Sounds like the Dark Mark.
Yeah, kind of.
And it can also,
She just turned your Gundam into a Harry Potter, by the way, just throwing it out.
Yeah.
Lord Voldemort.
it can also jam everything, basically. In a
Basically, it gives off a radiation pulse that will shut off communications, radar sensors, etc. Basically, so it can just screw with you.
What are those jammers called? I know there's like a 3 initial thing for them.
EMP?
Yeah.
Except his isn't an EMP because it would affect him too.
Yeah.
His actually uses radiation, probably from his core.
And for quick escapes, I have the ability to use wormholes at my decision.
So you can open like the fourth wall and zip and go
Pretty
away.
much.
Yeah, the only problem is he doesn't know what he's going to come out to on the other side.
That's dangerous.
And just remember that in order for him to create something like that, it wouldn't be an instantaneous thing. It would take him a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But once he fired it, then he could go through to another part. Unfortunately, if he pops up in front of an armada of ships...
I mean, I could always just send the other people that I'm fighting into that wormhole.
Oh yeah, I realize that. His whole half the size of a regular Gundam possesses all that extra power to push you through a wormhole. He bounces off me. The fuck, man? Are you trying to push me into that?
No, I'll just have my Gundams that I took... Well, not Gundams, but the bots or whatever that I took control push you in.
Oh, okay. That's actually kind of terrifying. Oh, another thing I just thought of that you could use. You could go take over a bunch of mobile suits and everything, and then store them at the end of one of your wormholes, and then it's just like knock somebody through it, and there's just a fucking army on the other side. Hey, we're here to shoot you!
But yeah, I didn't know exactly about the origins of the...
Right. Well, that was I was just bringing that. Well, which one of the which would you want to be? Would you want to be a bunch of poor guys in space? Are you part of a police force? Are you part of the old world Dominion, or are you a bunch of explorers? I mean, you can fit any one of those groups.
He sounds rogue.
Sound like a rogue assassin, to be
So
honest.
that sounds like it would be a lot along the sides of the outer colonies, where there's less law.
Okay.
Now, the advantage his suit has is in multi-purpose combat. If you are lucky enough to go up against somebody who has a bunch of mobile suits around them, you can just take them over and then just kill them at your leisure. Outside of that, you have to use your high speed and your beam katana to win in combat. And the fact that he might as well be called the Gundam Hobbit.
Well, at least my katana could stun the Gundam for a while.
Oh yeah, I could stun them. That's wonderful. As long as they don't get out a message saying, help me.
Not if their radio's blocked, remember?
Right. Well, I'm just saying, there's a lot of things you got to look into.
Right.
It also depends on where you attack them, if there's more than one Gundam. These are all things that we can't look at. Like, I can tell you I'm a defensive mother, but I'm not going to be able to stand in front of a capital ship and take everything it's firing at me. If a capital ship begins unloading into me, my next thought is, nope, invisible, gone. get the hell out of Dodge, come back on a different date.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Basically, that's what they'll hear over the radios. Just fuck this shit, I'm out, and it's gone.
I'm like, nope.
Yeah, just be like, hey, where'd he go? And just hear over the radio. We shouldn't retreat. Run, you bitch, run!
I mean, I could always set up the ones that I would set up at the end of a wormhole to, like, kind of form together, like, start transmutating into each other.
Oh, now he's getting some weird-ass Transformer vibe going on here. Why don't you just have them hug them and explode already, huh?
Well, it's gonna be a big bomb, but that's besides the point.
That's gonna be a big bomb, like Michael Bay's next movie. Oh!
Too bad he can't play with portals.
He does play with portals, though.
Yeah, but if opening a wormhole and you don't know what's on the other side.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he can probably guess. I mean, it's not like he's gonna say, alright, I'm gonna teleport to... Just spin the dial, bitch! Then he appears in the middle of a damn sun or something, you know? Whee! It's too hot!
I have a time machine. I could go back a few minutes and then catch you off guard.
You're not Tracer. We're not making this an Overwatch Gundam, alright? Alright, so we've gone from a junker who threw together a bunch of parts to make a smiling Gundam to a man half the size with half the firepower, but he plays with portals and he plays with dolls.
Congrats.
Specifically, my enemy's dolls.
He likes to play with them, but you don't want to be part of that. It's not so much
You should be looking at the camera when you're doing that.
Well, I also like to make sure that I'm talking to everybody.
Okay.
I mean,
Your facial expressions are funny, though.
yeah, it's basically not so much playing with dolls as it is Puppet Master.
Dance, my little pretty.
Dance, my pretties, dance! Alright, so, like I said, we've gone from a hodgepodge to a midgepodge. So next up, we have the hodgepodge again.
Yeah.
So,
I'll be right back.
yeah. Tiny
So-
bladder. Necro, bring forth thy Gundam!
Yeah, well, my Gundam's name is Multifire.
The Gundam Multifire, okay. I'm already liking the name. I know what it is, but I already like the name.
Basically,
I forgot something.
her phone, she's gonna be a while.
No.
Your brain?
No.
Oh.
Sorry.
It was a
You
good
keep
guess.
guessing here.
No.
It was a
Her,
good
it's
guess.
her headlamp.
She's going cave hunting again.
Anyway. So what my background character is I think he might have been ex-military that went to the colonies, like
Okay.
the American colonies, and
You mean the Earth colonies?
yeah,
Okay.
Earth colonies, sorry. And pretty much took some of the tech with him that he had from the military and built his own Gundam out of it. He
Okay.
used to be a pilot for the military, but he was like, "Fuck you, so I'm taking this."
Okay.
So, well, first off, he's pretty much an average-sized Gundam, maybe a little bit bigger, but not too much bigger. His core is the black hole core.
Okay, so he's literally running a freaking black core. So you're running nuclear power. He's running a black hole. I'm the only guy running a regular generator.
It's just enhanced.
Well, yeah, I just have an enhanced generator.
Well, I have a double generator.
Yeah, but if your generator gets hit, you go supernova. If his generator explodes, everyone gets sucked up.
Yeah.
If my generator explodes, there's a poof. That's it. I'm the least threatening blow up.
Okay, to start off with
Listen,
my
I'm gonna die. I'm gonna bring everyone with me.
actual system that I use in there, it is called the multi-lock-on system.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the multi-lock-on system allowed a pilot to literally control his weapon systems to target multiple mobile suits, which gave him a cut down in how long it took him to open fire. He wouldn't actually have to manually aim at mobile suits. His suit would actually be able to detect when a mobile suit was no longer a threat, and then take all the other information it had weapon-wise and aim at the next one.
Yeah.
He could literally sit there and choose how many of what of each to fire at each suit, and his suit will automatically detect if it's fired too many or too few and compensate for it.
Yep.
In other words, his computer says either you fired too much or you didn't fire enough, or hey, you fired enough for this guy, but let's aim at this guy.
Yep.
Of course, that's not what makes his suit scary.
Oh.
It's getting there. Nick, save the secrets for last. Just go for your basic stuff.
Well, I'm going for the packs right now.
Okay.
So for my starting pack is my main weapons, which is the Y blaster. What was that word? Silhouette or silhouette?
Silhouette.
Silhouette.
It's a silhouette.
Okay, the Y blaster silhouette.
This was a strike pack. It's just like mine. It's actually a separate unit that can actually fly around by itself or attach.
Right. It features 2 long-range beam cannons, 2 rail guns, and a set of missile launchers on its back, and it also carries a pair of beam javelins for close contact.
Right. So basically, he gets long, short, and melee weaponry from this thing, as well as missiles to allow him to lock onto targets.
Right. So next up, we'll go into the other pack that I have.
Right.
This is the AQM/EX04 or 04 gun barrel striker.
Right.
It again is like the other one. It gives me multiple guns for different ranges.
Right.
This one is designed with 4 wired gun barrels with slightly modified guns, armed with a railgun and a pair of missiles on each, and also a 4-barrel Gatling gun.
So basically, what happened was these things would situate themselves on his back along with his other parts, and they would detach and be controlled by wires, or in this case, the multi-weapon system. This allows him to have multiple weapons firing multiple types at the same time, aka beam energy weapons or protect. What?
Can I have one?
That's up to him. That's his dinner, not mine.
Oh.
It has Gatling guns, it has missile launchers, and it has beam rifles.
Go ahead. One.
Yay!
Microwaves in Nick's room.
I don't care.
All right. What else you got, Nick?
Okay, then we go with my final last 2 packs. They're combination packs, though.
Okay.
It's the Owashi and the Serenity packs.
Mm-hmm.
The Owashi is equipped with 2 high energy beam cannons,
Mm-hmm.
and a similar sub-flight lifter for pretty much flying.
Basically, it helps him fly in atmospheres.
Right. Which.
Hey, when you're a 75 to 80 foot tall hunk of metal, you kind of need help flying.
So, they're just.
Gravity's a bitch.
That was for me being a little bit more mobile and also to add a little bit more long range firepower at said people.
Okay.
That are also hooked up to the multi system again.
Right.
You'll find that noticeable. Then you've got the Shimiro, which incorporates a remote system similar to the Dragoon system, if anybody's familiar with that. I'm not.
I am.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with anything.
Yeah, I've noticed.
I've heard Gundams.
You just keep making your Harry Potter references. We'll be good.
With 7 remote beam cannons, it is currently unclear whether...
Oh no, just skip that
Okay,
part.
yeah.
Skip that. Basically, what this does is not only does it add more weaponry to it, but allows 7 little automated drones to fly around them, each with their own individual generators that have high-powered beam rifles to fire from them as well.
So at this point, you have...
11. At this point, you have 11 flying drones protecting you.
11. Jesus.
He's got 7 firing beam rifles. He's got 4 that are firing missiles, machine guns, and lasers.
Okay, got a question.
What?
Are you done, Greg?
No.
Okay. I'll ask when he's done.
Still got more to go, man. That's just my basic weaponry.
Yeah, he's doing his loadout right now.
To finish it all off, for other than the beam sabers that were given to me earlier by one of the packs, I also have my fingers.
You're what?
He's good with his hands.
I'm very good with my hands because the traditional beams will shoot out from my fingers, acting as claws.
He's got beam sabers for fingers. He can basically cut through armor by doing this.
So yeah, that's
Talk about reach out and touching somebody. Touch my arm! Ah!
The bleeding! It won't stop!
Then we'll go with my final 2 weapons. We'll start with the M Warhead.
So the M warhead, for those who don't know, was a special series of missile launchers that were used to fire out a special type of radiation. Basically, not only did they do extremely powerful amounts of explosive damage, but also left an area of effect around them where you couldn't get any type of sensors through. In other words, once he hit you with one of these missiles, you weren't calling for help.
Nope. I could just suck in the radiation.
Well, you could, but you can't suck in a missile hitting you.
You're not Kirby, man.
Remember, the biggest flaw of being half the size of a standard Gundam is having half the armor.
Yeah, but
If he hits you with a missile, you're going to feel the missile.
he ain't gonna fucking find it.
Well, remember, Gundams were designed to take hits from beam weapons. That's where their strength is. They're not so strong against ballistic weapons.
Which that is.
So being hit by a missile is extremely more powerful than getting hit by a beam.
Yeah.
Basically, imagine your armor as a mirror. You can reflect light off of it real easily. You can't reflect a rock off of it real easily, though.
And then we'll go with the plasma particle bomb.
Okay, so this is Nick's last resort weapon. A plasma particle bomb. Imagine, if you will, an atomic bomb. Now take the radiation away from it. Now add a really big EMP field in the center of it. Now increase the size of it by, I don't know, about 10 or 15 times the largest one that's ever gone off on the planet, and realize that Nick's probably carrying 6 to 8 of these things at a time. Now he could throw them like a grenade if he wanted to, or he could leave them while he's flying around and detonate them at his heart's content. But basically, these are the things that he gives the big middle finger towards. The worst problem, of course, being that in space, there's not enough to stop the wave from expanding.
Right.
In the Gundam series, these things were literally able to take out capital ships. A capital ship being about 400 to 500 times the size of a Gundam. Just throw one of these at it and fly the hell away, and the explosion will just rip it to shreds.
But then we got my final system,
Jesus Christ.
which is my bit system.
Yeah.
This is my defensive system. It literally is controlled by, well, it has its own generator, which is nice.
It also has its own AI.
Yes, it has its own AI and generator, which means it never has to come back to me to dock to charge up. It literally does it on its own.
Basically what it is an enhanced version of my planet defenses from earlier.
Yeah.
It can create a barrier that can protect itself from beam energy. Now, unlike my planet defenses, which can protect me from any form of energy, kinetic, beam, radiation, etc., each of his cores are automatically controlled by their own artificial intelligence, so they know when to turn on and off. They also have their own built-in generators, which means they don't have to come back to me to recharge themselves. And they're really good against beams, which mine are not. Mine are just average against everything.
Yeah.
So basically, if you're trying to take him on with, say, a beam katana or a long-range beam rifle or a pair of particle bombs, he's going to be able to block the shot. And then he's just going to sit there and watch as you try to hit him. He's just going to laugh at you. Until, of course, those little generators run out of power.
So
And then you
that
left.
is my Gundam. So some of you said you had questions.
I'll ask after the last one.
Well, just to give you guys a little bit more information, because Nick didn't cover it 100%. With all these different weapons and everything, you can basically imagine his as an advanced version of the heavy arms. It has way too many weapons for me to mention right off the top of my head. But basically, every one of them are controlled by a simple point-and-click system inside the Gundam. He can basically say, everything in this circle has to die now. The system then scans that entire area, detects every ship, goes through its memory banks, detects what those ships are made of, where their weak points are, and what weapons are best used against them. Then the ship, all the attached drones, and all their attached drones, then begin obliterating everything in front of them with its intelligence. In a nutshell, if he fought you once and he got away, the second time he fights you, he knows how to beat you. So, don't let him get away. It's like fighting Godzilla. It's like Godzilla versus Gamera. Godzilla wins the fight the first time no matter what. Gamera runs away, gets intelligence, comes back and whoops your ass. He's the turtle. He's the fire-breathing turtle. So, last but not least, the creator of this one, the one everyone has the highest of hopes for, Roadblock Bond. Would you care to describe your Gundam?
It's got anthrax wings.
He's sleepy.
It's okay, I'll go get some cold water.
Alright.
It sprinkles anthrax on my enemies.
I'm hoping we're not going that one. Roadblock, what you got for us?
Okay. Well, had, well, mine is actually 5 different ones.
5 different ones.
Yeah.
And the one Gundam, or?
Well, it's just, they all combine into one Gundam.
Oh, okay, that's pretty cool.
He has the Gundam Voltron!
Damn it! I was gonna say
Me
that.
too!
Well, actually...
Oh, wait, no, he's a fucking Power Ranger Gundam!
Go Power
No, here's what it
Brandon!
is.
You mighty morphin Power Brandon! Oh, he's
Good.
awake. Oh. Come here, Cody.
Kyle, put that down! Don't you dare!
Challenge accepted? Continue, Brandon, continue.
Yes, continue.
Well, actually, I was going to say that the actual Gundam itself is a core.
Okay.
Okay.
It kind of runs like it operates like a hive,
Okay.
where you just have the ball is where the pilot seat is in, and then there'll be the head, kind of. And then as the hive comes in, they're all like little miniature Gundams, and they all have their own weaponry and whatnot.
Okay.
Now, it could all, and then as I said before, they all combine.
Mm-hmm.
And I can kind of have like this one gigantic mode. With this, I can run separate power sources within each of them.
Yeah,
They're kind of like commander units.
Okay.
So the commander units
tell her she's slime.
take control of the smaller units,
Tell her she's slime.
and then I control the commander units and issue orders from there.
Okay.
I can set, now the purpose of this is that I can set some of them up so that I can literally make jammy units. Like, it's basically, this weird little mobile suit is meant more for recon than it is for actual, it could do combat,
Right.
but it's meant to get the layout of the entire field first in the fastest amount of time possible.
All right, that
And set
explains why all the multiple smaller ones.
And then set itself up so that we can jam systems, we can jam communications, we can pretty much just sabotage, look for traps, plan layouts. I can actually set some of them up to transform and turn into like sniper rifles and set them up in a long range position.
All right, so basically, instead of you having one large Gundam, you're basically a communication dish with a bunch of mobile dolls attached to it.
Pretty much.
All right, so the basic idea behind
Another cool thing though is that the trade-off is this: that most of the units you would imagine by themselves not very durable.
Right.
I mean, you know, if they're discovered, they're pretty much fucked.
right.
So their only chance is that each of them have its own stealth technology. That's the important thing.
Okay.
So my unit is mostly gonna excel doing night recons or night missions. If
Or
it's in
space-based missions.
yes, anywhere where it's dark area, you know, any place where there's a decent amount of cover. The important thing though is that, especially in jungle area, I can actually shrink down under the trees and just spread myself out. So like I said before, cover more ground, find where the enemy is. That's basically what it is. I find where my enemy is, I neutralize where he's at. I kind of use control tactics to maneuver them into position where I want them, and then just disable them right there.
Right. So your Gundam would be designed more for taking out Gundams that do not have extremely high assault capabilities. Like you're not going to want to try to set yourself up against, say, the Wing Zero. You're going to want to try and avoid that because of just how much damage it would be capable of performing.
Right, and the reason why I said that information is important in the amount of time that I gather it, it's just like, okay, it's exactly as you said. Can I take this guy head on?
Right.
Obviously not.
Right. So
Wing Zero can just blast an area, and then that's what it is. So for me, it would all be about, okay, where can I set up my little dolls so that I can so I can limit his air mobility, because mobility is another big thing on Zero, and disable his cannon.
Right. If you could limit his firepower, then you'd have the advantage. Right. So you're basically based on everything has to come through into a planning stage.
As a side thing, though, the best defense that I have is just, like, I wanted to do something cool with, like, magnets. Like, just create, like, magnet fields or whatever. Like,
So,
one
like
of my traps is kind of like a gravity well.
So in other words, the electromagnetic armors from certain of mobile suits that you couldn't escape from, they would literally just use the electromagnetic armor to point towards them.
Right, but I also wanted to kind of do, like, a gravity well trap, but I didn't know how I would explain what would...
Yeah,
within
basically,
a certain space.
we'll just throw it out there. Seeing as we've got some guy running around with a fucking subnuclear core from some alien race,
Right.
and another dude running around with a black hole, you being able to make a magnetic gravity well, not outside the realms anymore, man.
Because that's how I would limit air targets.
Well, yeah, because basically what you do is that you would use the gravity to force them to have to divert more power to their systems,
Right.
forcing them to land.
And like I said, if you spot any one of my parts and you just start picking them out, I'm pretty much fucked. Unless I can somehow reposition and largely have a plan B.
Right, so like I said, basically, unlike someone like, say, Sub, whose entire idea is to basically just run in, take over, and f the world up as quickly as you can, you're more of the thinker than the doer kind of guy.
Well, the way I kind of control everything is that I'm in the cockpit and I have kind of like a baton little thing. And I have a little metronome right here, so I just sit there and I swing it around. And that's how I direct. So, like, I'll have the map right here in the front of the core. And then with the little baton, I can easily direct, organize groups, and send them where I need them to go.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, you're not the first gun to do something like that. So, I mean, you're just a more advanced version of the, I believe she was called the Starlight. And basically what she did was, she didn't have any type of basic weapons on her. But she was a Gundam that controlled, well, it was back when the bit systems were brand new.
Mm-hmm.
What she would do is she would control a series of these bit systems around her using a command wand, like you're basically saying. And what she would do is she would be able to form them into different formations, have them go around, set ambushes, set traps, and just obliterate an opponent as quickly as possible, but she always had a plan B and C.
Well, my Gundam's actually more kind of like a mobile armor, because in the case of, I do have a fortress mode, which I trade all my advantages, to gain advantages in my disadvantages. So I'm like a bigger target, but I got thicker armor, I got better weaponry.
Right.
But I'm just...
Well, that's why I said you're a more advanced version of her.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you took out I think it was 5 to 7 of her bits, she basically had a big metal stick to hit you with. At which point she would just be like, well...
Well, I wanted to stick to kind of like base weapons, like I have beam sabers, I have javelins.
Hey, listen.
Unicorn had the most like in firepower that I do have is like twin railguns.
Right.
But like I said, like I kind of let the sniping handle the rest, where I analyze for weaknesses.
Right. So basically, like I said beforehand, you're the kind of guy that's going to study, and you're like him. You're going to study your opponent. You're going to try and find weaknesses. You're going to try and find ways to limit, and you're going to basically sit there and say, "This is my plan. I'm going through with it, and fuck if it backfires. Well, I hope that Plan B and C work."
Also, another important thing: environmental adaptability, meaning that they have a system where they can adapt. They can move in sand. They can move efficiently through heavy winter, which is another issue because, with the winter and cooling down your systems, you have to maintain a certain amount of heat.
Right.
If you don't maintain that certain amount of heat, you get no power.
Right. Your system will just jam up.
You shut down.
Right.
Water capability, because as we pointed out earlier, not many mobile suits can do that.
No. In fact, if out of the 4 of ours, I think only mine and yours have the capabilities of working in the water.
Granted, there's nothing, significant. It's just to help them move.
Well, right. Well, basically, your suits are capable of adapting to their environment and moving through it. So a sandstorm isn't going to screw you up.
I would still be susceptible to, if there was, a heavy sandstorm or whatever. It's just if I'm careless, if I'm still careless, I could get fucked by it, too.
Right. So basically, you want to avoid any opponent that has extremely large weaponry.
Yeah, basically, opponents that can outlast me.
Don't point at me. I don't have a lot of it. Nick's the one he's got to be careful of. Out of the four of us, Nick has the bombs and the long-range plasma blasters. I have a chest beam that I can aim at him, and because he's going to look at my system, he's going to know that if I'm facing him, he shouldn't be there.
It's like
Duh!
Wait,
Hey, that guy's got a giant cannon on his chest. Probably shouldn't be in front of that.
Unfortunately for
But yeah,
my
for me,
system,
go ahead.
it's gonna be like kind of the same thing. It's like he's gonna scan me, and I'm gonna be scanning him. And it's like, shit.
Well, right, like I said, like every Gundam has a strength and a
Oh, yeah.
weakness. He's more going to be able to take on opponents like me or Sub, people who don't have the kind of raw firepower that's required to take him down. On the other hand, the people that do have the raw firepower to take him down, he's going to be like, you know what? I'm just going to let him go past.
Yep.
I don't have to fight him. Fuck this.
Regroup, reposition.
Yeah. Can I get him if I do this? No. Can I get him if I do this? Yes, but only if. Okay, can I get him if I do this? Yes. Everything turns green. Then I attack. But he's also saying that he's not a fool. He's not going to just attack, even if, you know, he's the kind of guy that wouldn't attack if he had like a 70% chance. He would think that's too low of a chance.
He's gotta at least have 90 or better.
Well, yeah, but with how his suits work and how they transform and move, he can get that. He can reposition his snipers here. He can move his jammers there.
Yeah, if I had to make an exchange, it's an exchange that has to be worth having.
Right. He's not going to 1-for-1 you.
Right.
Yeah.
He'll 2-for-1 you.
For me, that would be dumb.
Right.
That would be extremely dumb.
So that's basically what he's talking about. He's basically saying that the only way he's going to enter combat is if he has all the details written down on a piece of paper, and he can almost guarantee that he's going to lose a hell of a lot less than you are. That being said, from what he's saying is he's basically more of a terrestrial combatant.
Right.
His advantages are mainly on planet-wide combat rather than space, because in space, his biggest advantage is taken away from him.
So no
It's the I call it the Legion Gundam.
Because in space, his biggest advantage of being able to hide and blend in doesn't help him with the fact that he has no cover. In the vast vacuum of space, there's nothing he can hide behind. And he's more likely to strike you from like an asteroid field. But he's not going to try and do something like the heavy arms would do, where he's just going to fly into the middle of a bunch of enemy units and just begin shooting in every direction. That's not his play style.
Go ahead, shoot up, use your missiles, use up all your ammo.
He's also more likely to say, well, this person has a limited amount of firepower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send some of my pieces at him, soak up the limited firepower, and then just straight up punch him right in the gabber afterwards when he has nothing to fight back with.
Yeah, that's pretty much my philosophy. Energy weapons have a limit. So you got to run out of ammunition sometime.
Right. Now the only flaw your system has is basically melee.
Yeah.
Once somebody gets within close range of your systems,
it's more or less like assassin type shit,
right?
Or ninja. You know, you can't. You're gonna pretty much. I mean, we're only talking like mobile dolls. You're gonna pretty much just club them.
Right.
They're gonna be done.
So much like Sub's design, you're completely based on ambush. Your opponent doesn't know what's happening. You hit him as hard as possible, and then you wait for the output. And if they're destroyed, it's a good day. And if they're not, it's time for round 2, where I put Plan B into action. Nick is more of a...
Another cool thing about it, very good for evacuation. Very good for helping people evacuate.
Well, yeah, because you'd be able to send each mobile suit individually out to grab more people. So you'd definitely be a defender. You're more of a military police or military... a space military group than anything else. Because you could really just go and evacuate ships before they were destroyed in a heartbeat. You could basically just turn an entire ship full of people into an empty floating vessel that's just a target. But like I said, all of us have our own disadvantages and advantages. And that's what it came down with the Gundam series. There was no such thing as the perfect Gundam. There was no such thing as an invincible Gundam. No matter how many special advantages a Gundam had, a Gundam always had a counter. Because every time one Gundam was built, except for the original, he's the only one that doesn't count. Other than the original, there was another Gundam that was then built afterwards specifically designed to take out that Gundam. And then there was a Gundam designed after that Gundam to take out that Gundam. And that's how the entire Gundam series went. Every single Gundam was specifically designed to assassinate or destroy another Gundam. That's why the Heavy Arms was designed to be able to take out the Death Scythe. Basically, it just dumped down barrage after barrage of ballistic weaponry, knowing that the Death Scythe, which is very strong against beam weaponry, wouldn't be able to absorb all the damage. The Death Scythe was specifically designed to take down the Wu Fei, because its stealth system allowed it to sneak up and couldn't get within range. And Wu Fei's was specifically the Shenlong was specifically designed to take down the Wing Zero due to its mobility and multiple weapon systems. Each one had its own specific Gundam to take down. And that's what makes these Gundams so interesting. They're a group of mobile suits designed with a purpose. They weren't just designed for, this is a frontline fighter, this is a defender, this guy has a bunch of missiles on his back. No, they were designed to take out a specific target. He's going to be able to fuck somebody up like, say, Heavy Arms easily. He could really rip through the Sandrock with no problem. And the Shenlong, well, it probably wouldn't be around long enough to even be able to use its little mini flamethrowers. That somehow work in space. I don't know how flames work in space, but they were quite effective. However, against something like the Death Scythe, who has its own stealth and jamming systems that could get within range of his core, or the Gundam Wing Zero that if he spots him and opens fire, it's going to cost him, these would be the ones that you would try to avoid. Me, like I said before, I'm not going to be able to take down the sheer firepower of the Wing Zero. I can't take those hits. I might be able to stop 1 or 2 shots, but afterwards he's going to rip me to shreds, and I'm going to just be like, oh no! But against something that requires a lot of firepower, I can block that. I'm specifically designed to be able to take on a bunch of shots around me at once because of my shields.
What colors are your Gundam?
Me? Black, purple, and white. I'm specifically designed to be a space-based Gundam.
What colors are your Gundam?
What colors are mine?
No, his Gundam it uses the optical camouflage. It takes pictures around it and then nullifies.
So, like,
Everything.
So, basically, what would be behind him, you see behind him. So he's not even there. He's just a mirror of whatever's in front of him. Except when he activates it, those eyes glow. That's the seer. A pair of glowing green eyes in the distance. Yeah, that's him. Except he's this big compared to you. It's like getting beaten up by a kid. It's like a leprechaun kicking your ass.
What would mine be able to destroy?
Well, just based on your speed and your design, you're going to be able to easily take on Gundams such as the Heavy Arms because it takes time to set up, or maybe even counter the Death Scythe. The Sandrock does have you beat with the amount of weaponry and the fact that its systems are so well designed, plus it has thermal scanning. It's the only one of the 5 Gundams that have thermal scanning. Once you take away that, though, you're basically just a beam saber wielding midget.
Are you saying that as a good or a bad thing?
Both. If you could get close range to like the Wing Zero, yeah, you're gonna fuck him up. Because other than the big gigantic buster cannon that he's carrying on his arm, he's got a little sword. You're gonna demolish him. And like I said, the Heavy Arms, it needs time to acquire its weaponry. The Hell Scythe you might be able to counter, but your problem would come with the Wu Fei. It is an agile motherfucker that can hit in every direction. And you're not going to be able to escape that. Your problem is you got to get within close range to hit him. But he specializes in fucking people up that are within that bubble.
Well, not necessarily. The katana could be used as a throwing weapon.
Right, but it's no longer attached to your system.
Yeah, it is. There's a cord that's attached to the fucking katana.
Alright. Well, you throw your katana, and then Wu Fei cuts it in half. Because he has done that before.
Okay, never mind.
Now you have a stick with a string attached to it up against a guy that literally has dragons for arms.
Okay, never mind.
Nyx is great as long as you don't get too close to it. While he does have these little beam fingers that he can tickle you with, his main advantage is having a shit ton of long-range weapons to blow you up. So basically, anything that could take out the Heavy Arms could probably take him out. And last but not least, we have Brandon's, which specializes in just being fucking everywhere. It would be a diversionary mech. You wouldn't know where to hit properly unless you could find its core. Which, of course, he's going to hide like, you know, a Hope Diamond from a jewel thief. He's going to hide that thing.
Well, one of the other drawbacks to my thing is that my core does have to be in a specific range to control them efficiently.
Well, right, but it doesn't have to be right there.
But I also can have ways to extend it as well.
Right. But
Just
mainly,
with certain tool. It takes more setup, though.
Alright.
his biggest problem would be someone getting close enough to the core to jam communications. Once you could jam the communications to his core, he wouldn't have any way of getting information out to the dolls.
Alright.
However, you have to find the core, which he's probably going to think of a way to keep it away from you. However, with enough heavy firepower, his losses are going to become numerous. Like he said, he's basically a mobile doll factory. He's got a bunch of these really highly advanced units that are specifically designed for specific purposes. But once you begin taking parts of them away, he has two options. Try a new plan, or escape.
You could always infect his doll and have it.
Well,
turn into
the thing is that he's talking about hundreds, thousands. He's not talking, they're not full-size Gundams. They're like big enough for a person to fit in.
Right.
He has thousands of these things everywhere. So, enough raw firepower, like one of his plasma grenades, or if he's dumb enough to actually let me hit him with it, my chest cannon, will fuck him up. But, intelligence-wise, he has already said that his character isn't dumb enough to let that happen. Plus, he does kind of have an advantage that none of us do except for Nick. Me and you, we're designed for space combat. That's our bread and butter. That's where we smile and live. He doesn't have to go into space. He could go and find himself a nice, happy spot on some planet and then bombard your ass from space, from there. Then, you would have to come to him. Now, all your maneuverability is screwed because now you're on a planet, which just basically takes a Gundam's maneuverability and cuts it into a fourth. The only difference is Nick has specific units, his units specifically designed for aerial combat on Earth as well. So it just comes down to three things. Who sees who first, who deploys first, and where the deployment happens. That's it. You know, you don't have an advanced sensor pack. Your guy is very basic when it comes to sensors. But if you see me floating through space, you're not gonna take the second chance not to put a beam in my throat. If he sees me floating through space and says, you know what, he looks like he just got out of a fight, his main cannon's bit damaged, and he doesn't look like he's got a lot of ammunition left, this is the perfect time to go fuck him up. And if I'm floating through space and Nick pops out of the corner and goes, surprise, motherfucker, and just begins opening fire on me, well, I'm pretty screwed myself. Like I said, we're not invincible. None of us are invincible.
Whose battery life would last the longest?
Well, you have a nuclear core.
Right, that drains star
Power.
radiation.
So as long as you're in space, you're fine.
Well, it drains radiation.
Well, yes, but as long as you're in space. On Earth, not a lot of radiation. On Mars, not a lot of radiation. Jupiter, not a lot of radiation. If you touch down on a planet, you basically have your battery life. Nick's running a goddamn black hole. Okay, he's got a black hole powering his Gundam. A black hole! You know,
I thought that was going to be too OP, that's why I didn't.
Well, actually, there are other Gundams that actually have it.
Yeah.
But the problem is, it has to be big. In fact, that black hole's probably about the size of you. Your Gundam.
So guess what? You might use it.
Brandon, on the other hand, however, has thousands of other smaller Gundams, each one with their own little generators inside of them, able to power each one individually. Which means each one of his Gundams has about as much power as a standard Gundam, although crushed down to its size. So basically, he's got thousands and thousands of times the power of what you guys are capable of putting out. Now I say you guys, and not me for a specific reason. It's not that I've got a better generator. In fact, mine's about double the size of a standard generator, so you've probably got more power than me. You've definitely got more power than me. And combined, you've probably got thousands of times more power than me. The advantage that I have is that I have the power drainer system. As long as there's a mobile suit within range of me, I start sucking energy out of it. So, if I can get somewhere in the middle of his swarm, I'm going to have an all-you-can-eat buffet. I'm going to be able to continuously fire beam weapon after beam weapon after beam weapon because I'm sucking his power away. The same thing with him. All of his little floating discs and everything all have their own individual generators, which is cute. Unless I get close to them, in which case, once again, I'm just going to suck them dry. But, once again, everyone has a counter. And that's what I wanted to make this episode about. All four of us had different imaginations. All four of us brought out four brand new, different Gundams with different strengths and different weaknesses. And not once did any of us try to argue over which one was better. Because none of them are. It comes down to the piloting skills, and the three things that you can never control. You can never control your environment 100%. You can never control the fact that there might be backup coming. And you can never control Lady Luck.
Alright, so out of the group, since you said that each Gundam was created to destroy another Gundam, whose Gundams would destroy each other's Gundam?
Looking at how the Gundams are designed right now, he's going to kill you.
Alright, so...
He's going to straight up kill you. Alright?
But who would he have been meant to kill?
Well, he probably would have meant to kill you.
Alright.
All of his weapons and designs are based on studying the opponent, finding their weaknesses, and then being able to counteract them. Your biggest advantage is your small size, which he can find a weakness to.
Right.
Not to mention that you're literally 1 against thousands. His legion versus you.
Right.
And due to the fact that they're smaller than you are, they're going to be harder to hit. Plus, your main weapon is a beam weapon. Sure, you may be able to take control of a few of them, but the literal mass that he has coming at you would be too much for you to be able to contradict. Nick, on the other hand, however, carries powerful plasma bombs that take out large areas, beam cannons able of obliterating, and multiple missile systems capable of taking out areas of effect. If Nick was going to be taking on anybody, he'd be going after Brandon. Not to mention his advanced sensors would allow him to detect Brandon.
So would that mean I'd be coming after you?
Well, yes. See, I'm specifically designed more or less to take out Nick. My protective armor allows me to protect myself from most of his weapon systems. My advanced AI allows me to counterdict his override system with all of his weapons. And my power drainer allows me, once I get within range, to be able to literally drain all of his systems.
That's crazy. We actually did build Gundams.
However, then we get to you. Now, your little sniper rifle ain't going to do crap to me. It's not. It's going to hit me. I'm going to be like, what? Who's trying to attack my system? But due to the fact of your size and your ability to get close within and then kick my ass in melee, which, by the way, I'm not strong in. I've got a really long, floppy whip of fire coming at you, which you're basically going to dance around and stab me in the face repeatedly.
Yeah.
That's not saying I couldn't beat you in a fight. That's not saying Nick couldn't beat me in a fight. That's not saying Brandon couldn't lose to you.
Right.
It'd be very difficult.
Be pretty funny, but...
But that's the whole thing about the Gundam series.
So no Anthrax win?
Now, folks, next week we will not be having a live stream event.
Instead you're gonna save all the people you're gonna...
Next week we are actually going to do something that we've never done
If
before.
I wanted to do biological warfare, I could actually set myself up to do. But like I said, it's more of a preparation thing.
Oh, okay.
We're actually going to bring you a skit that we've been thinking up. It's going to be pretty funny. We've all been laughing at it. We actually did a semi-recording of it. And sometime this week we'll bring you a preview of what it's going to be about. Needless to say, it's an idea that we took from... Well, we didn't take it from, but we borrowed ideas of it from Saturday Night Live and Whose Line Is It Anyway? So we're basically going to throw it all together into one really funny lump sum. We're going to probably do the recording on Saturday so we get everything set up, and then we're going to have it uploaded and prepared for you guys on Sunday, so look forward to that. If we do a live stream, it'll probably just be a thrown-together live stream. However, until next time, folks, I'm Kaiju K.
Necro Nick.
Subliminal.
Reaper Rose.
Gundam Block.
And we'll see you all in the future. Peace out, everybody.
Have a good one. Don't forget to wait the 15 seconds.
No, wait.